All right, so the 3 words you need to know. Factor, that is the numbers that you multiply together in a multiplication problem. A product is the answer to your multiplication problem, and then multiplication is obviously taking 2 factors and finding the product. So in the example, 3 times 8 equals 24. Kelsey, what is the product?
Oh, the product is 24.
Wonderful. Evan, what are the factors? 3 and 8. Okay? So when we factor something, what we are trying to decide are what are the 2 products that make that, or what are the 2 factors that make that product? And we make a little chart like this over here on the left-hand side. We're taking 1 and multiplying it by the number to get 42, correct? The really cool thing about this is all you have to do this is a calculator. So if you take 42 and divide it by 1, if you get a whole number, which you would get 42, you would write the number 1 and the answer that you got. Then if you take 42 and divide it by 2, and you get a whole number, you would take that number 2 times whatever the answer in the calculator is. Again, 42 divided by 3 will give you 14, so you write 3 times 14. Now, if you take 42 and do it by 4, you'll come out with a decimal number, which means that 4 is not a factor of 42. You would do that all the way down until we get a repeat. So if you look right here, it says 6 times 7 and then 7 times 6, which means we have repeated. We repeated a number, so we stop. We're done with that problem. And when we list it like this. F42, the factors of 42 are 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 14, 21, and 42. How do I figure that out, Mrs. Miller? It's really kind of cool because you take and go cross these ones out that either repeat or don't have a factor, and we go down the list, and then we go up the list. So we write them in this order. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 14, 21, 42. We would not write 7 and 6 again. You can only write the number once. And on some of your tests, I saw 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 7, 6, 14, 21, 42. Okay? That would be incorrect because you can't list 6 and 7 again. You already listed them once. So then the next question that comes up is, how do I check my answer, Mrs. Miller? Because some of you were leaving numbers off. So here's the easy way to check your answer. Are you ready? It's called a rainbow. 1 times 42 is 42. 2 times 21. 3 times 14, and 6 times 7. If you write a number down and there's not another number on this side to continue your rainbow, you've missed something. Either this number's incorrect or you left something out, which is what I saw a lot of you do. A lot of you were at 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 14, 42. And you left this 21 out. So double check your answers by using the rainbow method. Questions on how to do factoring? Anybody? Ask. I want you to be able to get a great grade on this test. So if you don't understand, ask. No questions? We're all good with factoring? Okay, so then we'll move on to multiples. And multiples are numbers that you get when you multiply that number by the whole number. So when it says m of 6, remember that 6 is one of your factors, and what you're listing for your answer are products. Okay? So you take 6 times 0, 6 times 1, 6 times 2, 6 times 3, 6 times 4, on and on and on. Biggest problem on your test, most of you left this little guy out. So make sure you include Mr. Zero because he's important. The other part that you left out was this. And what do those mean? That it can go on and on and on and on. It's infinity. It's unlimited. We wanted a set of 5, but we have to include the rest. Yeah.
So if we didn't put 0, but we still had 5,
You would get it wrong. Because when they ask for this set, they want it in order. Did I mark it wrong on this test? No. But if you're taking, say, your end of course assessment for Algebra 1 that you have to pass, graduate from high school, and you don't, are they going to mark it wrong? Yes.
Okay.
Because they're not your teacher who knows you understand it. They're just a computer person that says, nope, sorry, you missed it. Does that make sense? So that's why I want you to know things that are important to list. So when we write multiples of 6 are 0, 6, 12, 18, 24, ... and close our bracket. Does that make sense to everyone? All right, how many of you are raising your hand, say yes, I'm comfortable with multiples, I totally get multiples. All right, Kelly, what part of multiples are you not understanding?
I get it, I get multiples and factors, mixed up.
Okay, so, and I have a bunch of people who are at that point, right? So here's what we figured out for my second hour class, or my applied 2. Multiples versus factors. How do I know the difference? All right, multiples, and if you remember, you multiply, right? So you're doing multiplication and getting an answer. Factors, divide to find answers. Does that kind of help maybe?
Yeah.
So because they are in essence both multiplication problems, but if you can remember, m is multiply, so the other one is dividing, because I take the number and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one I take the number and multiply it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does that help?
Yeah.
Anybody else have issues? Evan, we good on multiples and factors? Or is there a question? No, you're good? Cameron? You're good? Okay, so that's the basics. If you don't understand multiples and factors, it gets a little more difficult to continue on. But we're going to go with prime numbers. Remember, a prime number has only 2 factors. Only 2, and those 2 are 1 and itself. Is the number 1 a prime number? Yes or no? How many of you say yes, 1 is a prime number? Raise your hand. That answer is no. Look right here. What 2 numbers multiplied together give you 1? Just 1, right? There's no other number with it. So it doesn't have 2 factors. It's the one that is the most trickiest for everyone. So I'm just telling you up front, it is not prime. All right, so then you have composite numbers, and composite numbers are any number that has more than 2 factors. How do you figure out the factors? You do your factoring. Okay? You did a prime number sheet. I would suggest for your test you look at it, because one of the questions on your test is what numbers are prime, what numbers are not prime, or what numbers are composite. So if they're crossed out their composites, all but number 1. And if they're prime, they were circled. All right. Questions on prime number versus composite numbers?